Thank you, sir. The next item here is the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty. Yes, sir. We're going to save over $1 trillion by withdrawing from that treaty. And the next item, sir, is a letter that will be transmitted to the United Nations explaining that we are withdrawing from the Paris Climate Treaty. Thank you, sir. This next item is a directive to the federal government ordering the restoration of freedom of speech and preventing government censorship of free speech going forward.
Does YouTube count? Probably not.
And lastly, sir, before we go back to the Oval Office to sign a large number of other items, is a directive to the federal government ending the weaponization of government against the political adversaries of the previous administration, as we've seen.
Well, you know what? He said, Donald Trump said last night that you're going to have a lot of fun watching television tomorrow. Talking about today. Well,
Thank you very much, sir.
it has been a most interesting day, that's for sure. Let's jump into this because it's going to be a quick one, but it's going to be chock full of info. Donald Trump's 2024 re-election stands alone. Categorically, it is unique in just about every way. And we've all lived through a traumatic period of the COVID takeover, again, we just talked about free speech, but can I even say it on YouTube? I mean, how much more can they suppress us? I guess they could remove us off the platform altogether. But anyway, massive election fraud there, I said it. Christians being jailed for praying in public. Third world, Banana Republic style lawfare at the highest levels of the American government. And of course, the Marxist coordinated attack on reason and decency. And not only that, what in the world? Oh, there's this too. Let's see. How about this? Last night, Trump dancing with the village people. Come on now. Are you mad at Donald Trump? Are you one of those people who is mad at Donald Trump? Oh, he's a globalist. He's a this, he's a that. Are you really mad at Trump today? Well, we're going to keep it real. I can't play him dancing with the village people, that's for sure. But anyway, I think I can show you at least. I can show you. There it is. But I have to take the. I'll have to take the sound out of it, but this is pretty good. Look at this. He's on stage with the village people. Are you mad at Donald Trump? Look at this. Come on now. I can't imagine Benito Mussolini dancing with the village people. And there he is. I know. People are upset. People get upset with anybody who's in position of authority. It's, there's something called the nirvana fallacy. the nirvana fallacy, says that there are people who expect that, for instance, the government should operate perfectly, that whoever's in power should do no wrong. We don't live in that kind of world, do we? Well, anyway, I thought I'd show you this. So I just would ask those of you who are very skeptical of everything you're seeing, just hang in there for a moment, because I'm with you. I understand. But we're going to get back over here to Twitter in just a minute, because it's interesting how Christians attacking one another, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I'm sure they have good reasons for it. But now let's get to this first. We have Biden this morning. The first thing he did this morning was to preemptively pardon Anthony Fauci, Dr. Fauci, General Mark A. Milley, and all the members of Congress who served on the House January 6th Select Committee. Interesting, isn't it? You don't normally pardon people who aren't criminals. But there you go. There it is. So why is this? Why does this matter? What's important about it? If you don't know who these people are, you've just heard their names. Fauci was the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. And he did a lot of lying to the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic, back in June of 2024. Biden said he did this to guard against potential revenge from the incoming Trump administration. Biden said that our nation relies on dedicated, selfless public servants every day. They are the lifeblood of our democracy, whatever he means by that, who knows. In certain cases, some have been threatened with criminal prosecutions, Biden said, including General Mark Milley, Fauci, and members of the staff of the Select Committee to investigate J6. He said, these public servants have served our nation with honor and distinction and do not deserve to be the targets of unjustified and politically motivated persecutions. Wow. Pot calling the kettle black. Goes on. Biden went on to say, quote, the issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that any individual engaged in any wrongdoing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense. Of course not. If you're not a criminal, you don't need a pardon, right? Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted on X, pardon because they're guilty of crimes. Never forget what they did. The mask is completely off. Goes on and on. There are some I can't hardly repeat here. Kylie Jane Creamer, Executive Director of Women for America, first posted on X. She said, F you to the deep state and the staffers who are lying and pretending Joe Biden is pardoning anyone. Biden doesn't have the capacity to pardon anyone right now. Said an investigation needs to be opened on these treasonous pigs who just pardoned the J6 committee, Milley and Fauci. Riley Gaines posted on X saying Dr. Fauci was pardoned because Biden was pardoned by Biden because he's guilty of MURDER. That's it. That's the tweet. Eric Matheny posted, Fauci is the most prolific American serial K of all time, or of the 21st century. He's not a hero nor a respected man of science. Anyway, more of that. Nick Sodor posted on X, what a disgrace. Only guilty people need pardons, he keeps saying. Rand Paul, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who has been going back and forth with Fauci now for a few years, posted on X and said, if there was ever any doubt as to who bears responsibility, Biden's pardon of Fauci forever seals the deal. As chairman of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, I will not rest until the entire truth of the cover-up is exposed. So not only that, Biden not only pardoned those people, but he also pardoned 5 more of his family members today. And he did it after that big story. You know, I guess maybe kind of hide it, keep it under the... The story says in a sweeping final act before leaving office on the day of Donald Trump's inauguration, President Biden on Monday pardoned his siblings and their spouses, citing why? Citing what he described as unrelenting attacks and threats aimed at his family in an effort to undermine him politically. No one has to try to do that. Blanket pardons for his brother James Biden, his wife Sarah, his sister Valerie Biden Owens, and her husband John Owens, as well as his brother Francis Biden, seeking to shield them from what he called politically motivated attacks. Biden issued these pardons when other officials were gathered at the U.S. Capitol earlier this morning. And of course, the reason this is important is because it obviously undermines accountability and transparency. So Biden has ordered clemency to over 1,500 prisoners. He pardoned his son, Hunter, last month for tax and gun-related offenses. It's good to have friends, or maybe a father in high places, right? That's a good thing, I guess, for these folks. Yesterday, the UK Daily Mail reported on a bipartisan survey of Americans. Let's see if I have that. There it is. Finding not even that's the wrong thing. Yeah, I had a graphic for that, but it's all right. No worries. No worries. Anyway, it was the UK Daily Mail. Reported on a survey, a bipartisan survey of Americans, finding that not even Democrats could name one good thing that Biden accomplished. And that study shows that most Americans actually get it, but most of the media still doesn't get it. Now, now we move on to Trump's 200 executive orders. I mean, Newsweek is reporting that Trump today, when today is over, 4.5 hours from now, that he will have signed more than 200 executive actions just on Inauguration Day alone. Now, that's a massive first wave of policy priorities. They'll be focused on border security, energy, reducing the cost of living for American families. Some of this you just heard. Ending DEI programs across the federal government and more. I'll share those. I'll share some of. That's what this show is really going to be about. Is what were those? What were some of the most important ones? You heard a couple of them there. What I really want to hear is the United States has that we're sending a letter to the World Health Organization saying that we're withdrawing, and then right after that, send one to the United Nations as well. So let's talk about, first of all, what is an executive order? Just so we know what this is. And just so you know, I'm not a fan of hundreds of executive orders being signed on day one. I'm not a big fan of that idea. That's a dangerous precedent. Executive orders, anyway, though, they're a key tool for any U.S. president who wants to make their mark on government policy. An executive order is a written order issued by the president to the federal government, which does not require congressional approval. Why that's important is because usually legislation comes out of the Congress. They're the body of lawmakers. The problem is that for many years now, let's see here, excuse me. I'm going to lose a battery here. There we go. Is that for many years now there has been a capture of many institutions in the United States, and that has come, but because of over the years, over the past 30 years or maybe a little more, Congress has been giving more and more power to these what we call institutions, agencies that are not lawmaking bodies. Congress has extended them the ability to make certain policies or laws. So giving the power to create legislation to other bodies that shouldn't have it. And so that creates a huge problem, because then you have presidents who come in and maybe have to sign these executive orders to override what these agencies have done. But it's not a good sign. It's not a good thing to wield such a powerful pen. A lot of these things may benefit a lot of us, but it's still dangerous. But what is an executive order? It's an executive order that goes around congressional approval. They range from dramatic reversals of policies, like Trump's approval for the construction of the 2 bitterly contested oil pipelines that he did back in 2017. It could be just ordinary business, like Barack Obama's instructions on his executive order on half-day closing for government departments on Christmas Eve back in 2015. Authority for issuing the orders is rooted in Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution. By the way, everyone should keep one of these lying around. You need to have yourself a copy of this. You can get these for a couple bucks. It's not difficult reading, but we need to. There it goes. We need to understand what's in that document so we can protect it. Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, which states the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. Trump signed 220 executive orders in his previous term. He's expected to sign more than 200 actions on Monday. Some say maybe it won't be that many. It's not clear exactly, but it's going to happen fast. This will include executive orders which are legally binding, and some of these will definitely not be legal. They'll just be presidential directives, like proclamations. You're gonna say this is going to be. You're gonna dedicate a specific day for remembrance of something. Maybe he's going to sign today the proclamations for. You remember he said he wanted to have in his on his website, in his policy plans, he wanted to have a year-long celebration, like July 4th, but for a full year to celebrate America, something like that. Oh, the renaming the Gulf, he said this today, renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. I don't know why that's important. I don't know why that's something we need to be focused on, but nevertheless, Trump has promised orders that will ramp up artificial intelligence programs, that will form the Department of Government Efficiency. That's the DOGE. And speaking of which, Summer has been reading about this today. The nonprofit groups, just as soon as Trump finished the oath, nonprofit groups began to sue Trump, the new administration, trying to stop the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. And this is exactly why you need this particular department right now, because government has become so huge and so bloated and so useless to us that it has to be trimmed down. Some of the executive orders will make records available related to the assassination of JFK. Now, you've heard a lot of people get excited about that one. I would say, hang on. Just hold your taters on that one. I don't think you're going to learn a whole lot on that, right? They might release enough to pacify people for a while, but I don't think you're going to find out anything that's going to be all of that. You're not going to find out who planned it. You're probably not going to find out anything that's going to be earth-shattering. You might get some juicy details, but I just don't see that happening. Why? Because, well, the implications, if it was just finally out there in black and white what really happened, I think they're afraid of what that could actually cause in the country. Just like, 9/11 has been over 20 years now. In another 30 years, it will be 50 years between 9/11 and it'll be 50 years since 9/11. And some of those documents will be scheduled for declassification. They're probably not ever going to be declassified either. Some of the executive orders will direct the military to create an Iron Dome missile defense shield and eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion policies from the military. We'll listen to Trump say this in just a minute. Sometimes executive orders are made during wartime to avert domestic crises. In February 1942, for example, Franklin D. Roosevelt signed an executive order that led to the creation of detention centers for about 120,000 Japanese Americans. Those were internment camps. 1952, President Harry Truman issued an executive order that put the steel industry under the control of the government in an attempt to avoid a strike. So you can see executive orders are usually used to go around the process of legislation, to get something done quickly. That can be good or that can be bad. On his first day in office in 2021, Joe Biden signed an order beginning the process, an executive order, beginning the process of rejoining the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement, from which Trump formally withdrew in his previous term. And you can see, we just heard a moment ago, Trump has once again sent a letter to the United Nations saying we're going to withdraw from the Paris Accords, and this is good. As you heard him say, it will save us $1 trillion, probably more, because at the last conference of the parties in Azerbaijan just a couple months ago, they were demanding $2 trillion from the U.S. for climate reparations. So anyway, Biden's Secretary of State Antony Blinken said rejoining the Paris Climate Accord says would be, quote, to help us all avoid catastrophic planetary warming. An executive order has to work within the confines of the law, with, in theory, each one reviewed by the Office of Legal Counsel for form and legality. It doesn't always happen that way, but if an order is deemed to stray outside the boundaries of what is acceptable, then it can be subjected to a legal review. Congress can also pass a law to override a presidential executive order, but then a president still has a veto over that, according to the Constitution. And the reason that executive orders are politically sensitive is quite obvious if you think about it. Executive orders are controversial because they bypass approval from Congress. They allow the president to act on his own. And usually the American people are okay with that up to a point. Republicans, for example, successfully sued Obama over part of his 2010 healthcare changes, arguing that he had exceeded his constitutional authority when he unilaterally delayed an insurance coverage deadline. Trump's travel ban on some majority Muslim countries was highly controversial. That was an executive order. And Biden ended it when he entered the White House. Of course he did, because if we know now they were setting the stage for the mass invasion that we'd see. A president can also issue an executive order when members of Congress act too slowly or when the president feels he needs to flesh out details of a new law. But generally, you want the executive branch to stay out of the business of creating laws. That's meant for the Congress, because the Congress has people there who are representatives of the people, of the citizens. And so laws should come about from the minds of the citizens when we need them. Doesn't really happen like that anymore, because we don't have a citizenry that's all that engaged in the process anymore. Too many of us have decided to sit on the couch and just watch it all play out and complain about it and point at it as the New World Order, when if we would just involve ourselves and be a part of this, of our nation, of our system, of the process, specifically in your local government, we could protect what we have. Anyway, more for that. Later for that. Again, Franklin D. Roosevelt issued the most orders of any president, 3,721, but that was during 12 years in office, before the presidential term limit. Woodrow Wilson and Calvin Coolidge signed 1,803 and 1,1203 respectively. Now here's a chart showing exactly, just as a little to help you understand. Ronald Reagan, from if we go back to Ronald Reagan, he signed the most executive orders from Trump back to Reagan. Bill Clinton comes in second, 364 executive orders. W signed 291. Trump, 220 in his first term, and it looks like after it's all said and done, he's going to take the lead on this chart. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if he's going to get through 200 today or not. That's a lot of autographs. Nevertheless, I just think this picture is it's grand. I like that. Look at him. Come on, you can't hate on the guy every day, all day. Back in 2017, when Trump came into office the first time, his first executive order dealt with targeting Obamacare. Biden revoked that when he took office, and so you can see how it works back and forth. But anyway, so as Newsweek is reporting, we'll just go with their reporting, the president's issuing a historic series of executive orders and actions that will fundamentally reform the American government. That's scary. That sounds scary right there. Fundamentally reform? No, we don't reform. If by reform they mean we want to go back to the way it was, that would be good, but I don't know. It's a dicey time. Including the complete and total restoration of American sovereignty. It's okay, so we want to reform it, if that's what they mean, take it back to a better time and restore American sovereignty by getting us out of these deals with these multilateral organizations like the WHO and the United Nations and others. That's good. That would be good. Now, some of these executive orders. And I want to show you some clips. There was when Franklin Graham prayed today, some of the people in the audience, at least a woman and maybe a couple people, shouted out against him for the way he was praying. I think she was saying, we'll get to that in a minute. And again, the inauguration is really, it's an exercise in civic religion. It's not really a Christian. It's set up like a Christian worship service. There's an invocation, and at the end, there's a benediction. There are prayers. It's a solemn occasion, but it's not a Christian. It's not really a Christian event. It can't be said to be a Christian event when you have three faith traditions praying at the same time. That's ecumenical. That's not a Christian worship service anymore. It's what we call civic religion, right? It's and that is the most common religion in America. It's American civic religion. It's really the worship of the nation. And many people do. All right, so some of these executive orders. He's going to end the catch and release, the thing called the policy called catch and release for immigrants. Now they catch them, they keep them. He's going to pause all offshore wind leases, so that's a Green New Deal issue. He's going to terminate electric vehicle mandate. That's a Green New Deal policy. He's going to abolish the Green New Deal altogether. He said as much. One of those executive orders today, hopefully we'll be doing that. Again, withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord. He's going to take several steps to assert presidential control over the federal bureaucracy. It's going to declare a national border emergency. He's already done that. In fact, they've already been rolled out for the border. They've already started that. It's going to direct the U.S. military to work with Department of Homeland Security to fully secure the southern border and establish a national priority to eliminate all criminal cartels operating in the United States. That particular order designated cartels present in the United States as terrorist organizations. So they come under some very, laws that were created during the Patriot Act, which, are pretty nasty. You really only want to use those against enemies, but unfortunately they've been used against January 6th, people who are in prison for January 6th. It's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Trump will close the border to illegal aliens via a proclamation that he's made already today. He'll create task forces for the protection of Homeland Security with officers from the FBI, ICE, CEA, and other agencies to fully eradicate the presence of criminal cartels. He'll also direct designations of cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, as we just said, which the official who released all this info said will unlock new authorities to achieve the Trump Homeland Security mission. All right. He will reinstitute the so-called Remain in Mexico policy and direct the military to construct a new area of border wall. As we saw over the last year in our reporting to you, clearly the wall doesn't really stop anybody. If you're not allowing Border Patrol to do their jobs, they can just walk right through. Trump will grant emergency authorities to suspend the entry of illegal aliens across the southwest border, allowing individuals apprehended to be swiftly returned to their countries of origin. Trump will fully unleash, quote unquote, Alaskan energy. Drill, baby, drill is what that one is. The official described as essential to U.S. national security. I would agree with that. This energy executive order deals with, quote unquote, every single energy policy, Trump said, and addresses liquid natural gas, ports, fracking pipelines, permits, and more. Also, terminating President Biden's policies that Trump said have constrained U.S. energy supply. Trump will fully reform the federal bureaucracy by reestablishing presidential control over the career federal workforce and make clear to federal workers that they can be removed from posts for failing to comply with executive directives. Now, I'm interested to see how much of that will be directed at the IRS. I know we told you last show that he's creating, or Summer told you, that he's creating the ERS, the External Revenue Service, to tax and collect funds from foreign nations who want to do business with America. Hopefully, we'll direct some of this ire toward the IRS and get them off our backs, have them stop stealing our money that we work for. Trump will sign an executive order to strengthen presidential control over senior government officials. See, this is what was interesting about the Supreme Court's decision earlier this year. They said, wow, that's going to give Trump power to be a dictator. It actually didn't do that. It actually made it more likely for a senior government official, including a president, to be prosecuted. But it would have to meet a standard of, unlike a lot of the charges that were brought against him over the past several years. And they're going to implement a new merit-based hiring review for government workers. No more DEI. Trump will no more DEI by name. I'm sure DEI will continue to exist in other forms, and to just change it and rebrand it. Summer and I were talking about this earlier today. This is what she had to say about it, that it's just going to be rebranded in another way, and I believe she's right about that. So Trump will also take action to return federal workers to in-person work. That was one of the orders he signed in the clip just before I showed you in the clip there. All government workers. Since the pandemic, they've been working from home. They've been really not working at all, probably. Now they have to go back to the office and work like everyone else. Trump will end the weaponization of the federal government and restore freedom of speech and end federal censorship. We hope he does that. We hope that works. Trump will also suspend the security clearances for the 51 national security officials who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop ahead of the 2020 presidential election. He's also expected to establish biological sex definitions. Right? He said that in his speech today. Our government will officially recognize that there are only two genders, he said. That was interesting. I didn't expect him to. He said that while Biden and Harris, as you can see here, while Biden and Harris were sitting right behind him, which was good. That was good. Of course, as I've told you, he's going to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. He's going to put Mount McKinley's name back on it. Day one of the Trump administration will end all DEI programs across the federal government. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know that can actually be done, because if they just come back and rebrand it some other way, which they seem to be doing, you can check out what James Lindsay's had to say about this recently, which is interesting. It's going to probably continue. They're not going to go away. Right now they're seething, they're rebranding, and they're going to find a new way to do it that you might not even notice. Trump will establish a new Department of Government Efficiency. That's the DOGE. Let's see. He's going to implement a hiring freeze and gain control over foreign aid and NGO funding. It's a massive, record-setting, unmatched first wave. And then even after this, there are many, many more that Trump intends to executive orders Trump intends to sign to continue the restoration of America. They're saying it's the most extensive list of executive actions in American history, all guided by a relentless commitment to deliver on a campaign promise. As Trump has said, it's everything voters voted for, and we're putting it into our executive policy. Okay, now that brings us to this. Now, okay, so now he's back at the Oval Office now, and they're in there signing. He's in there signing executive orders again. Now, they were announcing them earlier. Let's see if they're still announcing them.
Prime Minister Trudeau, like all Governor Trudeau, I met with numerous foreign leaders.
He called Trudeau a governor again.
Sir, this next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
Good. That's a good one. Birthright.
Look at all those. Look at on that desk.
What about that one in the court? That one is likely to be.
Could be. I think we have good grounds, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out. It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, we'll see. We think we have very good grounds.
Sir,
People have wanted to do this for decades.
Sir, this is a proclamation declaring a national emergency at the southern border of the United States.
That's a big one. A lot of big ones, huh?
Huh? Yeah,
You know
a
what
lot
that
of big
means,
ones. A lot of big ones.
President Trump, did President Biden leave you a letter?
He may have.
Listen to that Sharpie.
Wait. Don't they leave it on the desk? I don't know. Oh,
What's in there?
thank you, Peter. It could have been years before we found this thing.
Oh, there it is. There's the
Thank you.
letter.
Can you read anything outside?
Maybe we should all read it together.
Let's read it.
Ah, here we go.
Maybe I'll read it first and then make that.
Armor of truth. Here's your breaking news.
Peter, thank you very much. I may not have seen this for months.
Happy to help with the passing of the torch.
I did. I left him one in the desk, just like this.
What are you talking about?
Ah, he's not going to read it. Boy, that would have been good.
Unification of our country. You know, I didn't know that he gave a pardon to his family because he did it during my speech.
Yeah.
He didn't tell you in the letter.
No, he didn't tell me. No. He did it. They released it during my speech. I mean, during my speech. So all I could do was say, excuse me, I'd like to come back and speak some more. So, no, we were surprised by that. It's
Mr. President,
it's bad precedent, obviously.
where are you thinking on tariffs on Mexico, given these actions you're signing on the border?
Well, we're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
When do you think you would enact those?
I think February 1st.
Are you planning on giving notice of that?
I think we'll do it February 1st.
25% on both, sir.
Sir,
On each.
On each, yes.
this is an executive order taking a large number of executive actions to secure our southern border.
Okay? Sounds reasonable.
President Trump, we remember 4 years ago, Barack Obama had told you that the top threat to the country was going to be North Korea. Did Joe Biden tell you what he thinks the top threat to the country is?
No.
Why not?
I think we have a lot of them. Right now, I think we have a lot. I think North Korea turned out to be good. I was very friendly with him. He liked me. I liked him. We got along very well. They thought that was a tremendous threat. Now, he is a nuclear power, but we get along. I think he'll be happy to see him coming back.
Gosh.
I think he has.
I don't know. I'm exhausted. I can't imagine. This guy must be. Let's see what this one is.
Work with countries from South America to
Well, the reporters just keep on talking, so it's hard to.
Sorry, sir.
I'm fine with legal immigration. I like it. We need.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's. I want to show you. I'll show you a couple clips from what happened today. This will be the clip of where Franklin Graham comes up to pray and gets some flack from some people there in the gallery today.
Mr. President, the last 4 years, there are times I'm sure you thought it was pretty dark. But look what God has done. We praise him and give him glory. Let us pray.
Sound like she actually just said glory to God. So, my fault. I thought it was more controversial than that. But, this one here doesn't seem so. These guys over here don't seem so. Poor Joe. I don't know, man. Poor Joe. He's not really there anymore. And whoever's responsible for loading him up like a weekend at Bernie's for 4 years needs to go to prison too. Anyway, so let's listen to let's see, let's let you hear the actual swearing in. Now, a lot of people were saying today, a lot of people were upset because they're saying that J.D. Vance had his hand on the Bible, but Donald Trump didn't have his hand on the Bible apparently, and there might be a reason for that. I think I have an answer for you, but we'll see. Let's see what happens here.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully.
Well, so what's going on is Melania is actually holding the Bible. I don't know if Trump's touching it, but listen, I think the point here, an explanation for this could be that there was a lot of talk about the fact that Trump may have been sworn in before this. I don't know. Maybe it happened. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. They did seem to jump through this kind of quickly. He could have been sworn in last night or something. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know that that's necessarily that big of a deal. Trump is, as far as we know, he doesn't have a profession of faith as a Christian. He doesn't feel like he has anything to be repentant for, so there's that. So he's not really a Christian to begin with. And we live in a secular nation. The Lord has blessed us with a secular nation, and that was for the purpose of religious freedom. So we can't look at our president as though he's the leader of our church or he's a pastor or anything like that. But let's see. Let's listen.
Faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
It is. It looks like, it actually looks like Melania is holding two books. I think one of them is a Bible and the other is a John MacArthur study Bible, I believe it is. Thank you very much. Now, there are a couple moments in this.
Priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free.
I'm going to jump through this a little bit because
America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before.
I'll jump through the applause.
Optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world.
Wow.
And America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken.
Now remember, he's saying this as Biden and Harris sit within 6 feet, 12 feet from him.
At home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly. And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we're watching fires still tragically burn from weeks ago without even a token of defense. They're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen.
Interesting.
Everyone is unable to do anything.
By the way, here's a conspiracy for you. I've got one for you. Barron Trump is Lex Friedman. There you go.
Thing about it that's going to change. We have a public health system that does
Alex
not
Jones is
deliver
Bill
in times
Hicks.
of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly. My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Thank you.
I don't know. Personally, though, I'm not all that convinced from the scriptures that God is really all that concerned with America. I really don't think that that's the case. But especially at this point in our apostasy, really. But I want to be among those who, personally, I want to be among those who will choose to be to be patient and positive about this. There's a lot of people out today. You check it out on Twitter. It's of course, there are those who, as Joseph Kospelich there in the chat mentioned, there are plenty who are sycophants, who just simply will not question anything that comes out of this administration, and that's not responsible. That's not being a good citizen. That's not even being a good supporter of the president, to never question him. He has to be questioned. He must be questioned. He must be held accountable. Okay, let's go into it.
Will make his dream come true.
Oh, yeah, this was Martin Luther King.
Strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true. We will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. Can't do that. Today I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy.
I just saw, did you see that? Look at George W. There's George W. Bush right there. You get applause for that one. All right.
I will end the practice of catch and release. Repel the disastrous invasion of our country.
I'm going to skip through this a little bit.
The orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorists.
All right, we talked about that.
And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks.
All right.
I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct
everything. Everything is at a level no one's ever seen before. I mean, you could say he's grandiose, but then he seems to do it.
Direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
I'm going to drill for babies.
And we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. Again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers.
Good luck. We're all counting on you.
In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to
Bigger
the
than
auto
anything. It's
workers of our
huge.
nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with them and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
I hope that works out.
To collect
Oh, here it is, the external.
External Revenue Service. To collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring
That's
into our
meaningless
treasury,
unless you abolish the IRS.
coming from foreign
in my
sources.
opinion.
The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before. To restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government, my administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency.
And they're already under attack for that one.
Efforts to restrict free expression. I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents.
All right,
Something
there's
I know
one
some
particular
flat
one I want to
happened
get
is
to here.
Under the constitutional
This is
rule
the
of law.
lawfare.
And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. It will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Wow, that one got me. That's pretty bold. It's amazing that you have to say that. And you get there's Lex Friedman. Lex Friedman. Look, I watched this thing all day today. Summer watched it. Our whole family watched this today, and I just have to say I'm really impressed with young Barron there. I know there's a lot of people who just disagree with all of this, but I am. It's just nice to see a young man carrying himself with grace and some kind of to behave honorably. Anyway. Okay, enough of that. Let's finish this up. I want to run through some of this dumpster fire that is Twitter. Let's see. Maybe I can do it this way. There we go. Yeah. So here's now. Yeah. Look at this. Elon Musk. I don't know what this is that Elon Musk is doing here, but it doesn't look good. I don't know what he's doing there, but that's a very familiar looking kind of sign. Maybe the guy just got a little excited. I don't know. He definitely was excited. Look at this guy. He's taking his moment, isn't he? What is he doing?
Yes!
Come on, don't hate him.
This is what victory feels like. Yeah! And this was no ordinary victory. This was a fork in the road of human civilization. Okay. You know, there are elections that come and go. Some elections are, you know, important, some are not. But this one, this one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
There it is again.
My heart goes out to you.
Okay, all right. So he's.
It is thanks to you.
Okay, so there's a context.
The future of civilization.
So there's a context there, right? Okay, so he's. I hope he's not giving a Nazi salute there. Let's just don't assume that's what he's doing. I don't believe the guy's a Nazi, but he was doing this. His heart to other, right? Let's just think the best of the man. That's a Christian principle that, you know, we should think the best of people instead of automatically thinking the worst of their intentions. But still, honestly, this is not going to go away anytime soon. He should be a little more careful, I guess. I don't know. That was kind of funny. Yeah, here's actually the here are the it's going to be hard for you to see. Yeah, these are the pardons from Biden earlier today. These are the ones for General Mark Milley, Fauci, members of the Select Committee, the J6 Committee. Still calling it an insurrection. Of course, we know what that was. And Daily Wire. Let's check out this from Larry Taunton. He called into Steve Bannon from. Okay, it looks like OBS is trying to disconnect. Hopefully we're still on there. So let us know in the chat if you're still able to see and hear us. But let's check this out. Oh, this is Larry Alex Taunton is now in Davos at the WEF, as he does every year, to go there to be a spy for us, for all of us. The eyes of the world are rightly on Donald Trump's inauguration as President of the United States. But let's not forget that while the globalists have suffered a setback, they're meeting this week, per usual, in Davos, and Taunton is there now. So that means in a week or two, we'll hear the report he'll be able to give from Davos.
Because I thought, we're in serious trouble. Who is running the country? Like, I don't know who put the paper in front of him, but he didn't know.
All right, we'll skip AJ this time. Yeah, this is, I don't know what's going on here. Here's a good one. Jeff Foxworthy. If you need a preemptive pardon, you might be a redneck, a criminal. And, of course, Vladimir Putin will have to take their word for it because...
this approach, and we congratulate the newly elected President of the United States on his inauguration. We have never been against dialogue. We have always been ready to maintain peaceful relationship with any American administration. I have said that many times. We would like to see the dialogue built upon equality and mutual respect, considering the common positions on our country on a number of international issues, including strengthening security and political stability. We're also open for dialogue with the new U.S. administration on the Ukrainian conflict. The most important thing here is to eliminate the fundamental reason for the conflict. That's the most important.
The government fears Alex Jones, who has...
All right, well, there you go. From Vlad the Impaler Putin, congratulates Trump. And we heard a lot about Martin Luther King Jr. today. I won't comment other than I'll just read Smash Bales Twitter today. MLK Jr. simply wasn't a Christian. He was some kind of faith leader. Someone said it over here in the chat a moment ago. It made good sense. Let's see where it went. Anyway, the idea that they have a God, but it's not it's not Jesus. So yeah, this one says that MLK Jr. denied the virgin birth, denied the doctrine of the Trinity. Now that right there, that's 2 for 2 on 2 of, well, okay, 3, the top 3. 4, look at that. Denies the virgin birth, denies the Trinity, denied the divinity of Jesus, and denied the resurrection. You can't be a Christian and deny even one of those. Was a serial adulterer. Was a communist. And here's one too. By the way, this is interesting too. Check this out. Today, as everyone was getting seated for the inauguration ceremony, the president of Planned Parenthood died. Just a fact, we don't look at that as having any prophetic significance like Brandon Biggs or someone like that, but it nevertheless is interesting that would happen that way. And finally, there's this piece here, which disappointed me a bit, from Michael O'Fallon, someone who we've followed for a few years now. He's speaking a lot of clarity into a confusing time for us. Michael O'Fallon says, "The people have spoken. The people want change." Now he's quoting Elon Musk here. Let's just listen to Musk, since Fallon is quoting him.
The people have spoken. The people want change. And we're going to give it to them. They will get what they asked for. I think this is going to be the most transformative presidency, perhaps since the founding of the country. And President Trump is picking the cabinet to do it. You can see the choices are people who are actually going to make change. It's not going to be business as usual. We're going to shake things up. It's going to be a revolution. And we're headed towards, I think, a fantastic future. I'm super excited. I look forward to experiencing that with everyone. Thank you.
All right, so O'Fallon took umbrage with those with those words from Musk. Wish I could just open that up here without it opening up on the side. That's ridiculous. Nobody can see that over there. Well, anyway. So, it says probably not what you were hoping for, right? And because, the charge is going to be that Elon Musk is, he's a transhumanist. And I would just say, well, what do you expect him to be? Man's not a Christian. We don't expect him to have Christian values. But there are plenty of issues we can be co-belligerent on. But anyway, let's see, why does this do this? I'd like to just look at that tweet in its entirety over here where other people can see it. I'll just have to go to his Twitter. So this started out a bit of a back and forth that was disappointing to me, that I wanted to share with you because I thought it would be worthwhile as we think about. There it is. Okay. Okay, so he comes back and quotes it later. Imagine what can be, unburdened by what has been. I don't really get that from what Musk was saying there. I think Musk is a transhumanist and he doesn't know God, but I don't see him necessarily as a Marxist. But anyway, here we go. It says, the men and women who elected Trump are not looking for a transformative presidency. They're hoping for a return to constitutional norms. They don't want things like shaken up. They want to go back to living their lives, making a living and raising their families without government intrusion. Hear, hear. The last thing that the people who voted for Trump want is a revolution. They want common sense economics, sound fiscal policy, and liberty that is protected under the rule of law. Good points, right? What Musk is proposing is a leap into a technocracy, a rule of the elites, and an end to human autonomy and liberty. I don't necessarily see that in what Elon Musk is saying here. He's going to be part of an agency, if it's allowed to last, that's going to go in and cut the fat out of the federal government. Yes, he's a transhumanist. Yes, he probably believes in a form of technocracy, but he's not the president. I don't know that he's promoting a rule of the elites and an end to human autonomy. I'm not sure. Now, we're talking about here, I'm sure he's thinking about Neuralink and things like that. Okay. Anyway, he says, no, thank you. We want our nation back. Well, all right. But then we go down, and here is Jeff Childers, who is the author of the Coffee and COVID news blog, which is a good one that we would recommend. You could check that out over on Substack. It's a good daily reader. And he responds to it's not really what Michael O'Fallon was saying that I'm pointing to here. What happens next is what bothers me, because I agree with everything he said there. And then here comes Jeff Childers. He says, you're both right and wrong. He says, we seek restoration by transforming the administrative state into a shell. We want to shake two-tier justice until it passes out. We want a revolution in taxation, like stopping the money printing, not Bush Light. Bush Light, that's funny. And then Michael O'Fallon responds and says, you obviously have no idea in regards to what is about to happen. And then it just devolves from there. The next person here, Pure Vita 71, says, well, which is it? And then Jeff Childers responds, well, it looks like O'Fallon has blocked me. I take it he's not an optimist. And that was extremely disappointing. What did Jeff Childers here say that should cause Michael O'Fallon to block him on Twitter? I mean, we come from the same camp. Michael O'Fallon's a Christian. Jeff Childers is a Christian. And what is this? What is this public behavior with everyone looking on? How is that good? Blocking. Now, if it's true, in fact, I put up a comment here. I've supported, in fact, both of us, we would still be supportive of Michael O'Fallon, right? But we've been supportive of O'Fallon for years now. But if he has, in fact, blocked Mr. Childers for really just a reasonable response to his post, you can't support that. You have to rebuke that. You have to call that out. That's not good behavior. No matter how smart you are and how right you've been on 1,000 different issues, that's bad. Christian men are to be obviously different from the world. Can we not disagree on the non-essentials with grace? And this qualifies as non-essentials. These are not topics for Christians to divide over. And if it actually happened, to publicly, and of course, we don't think Jeff Childers to be a liar, that he would make that up. And it doesn't seem that O'Fallon came back and said, no, I didn't block you. I don't know what you're talking about. Seems like that he did block him. O'Fallon says, the singularity is the greatest revolution in history, the overthrow of humanity itself. I don't know. I think O'Fallon has gone a bit over the line here. Doesn't really matter because he'll never hear me say that. But I would hope that we could handle our interactions with one another a little better than that. Like not just be acting like everyone else out on social media, just blocking people who we happen to disagree with on a. I'm not even sure exactly what the disagreement was about, because Michael O'Fallon never told us. He just said he just accused Jeff of being ignorant of what's about to happen, and that's what I wanted to close up with tonight, because I think it's become far too common, especially out in on YouTube and out in this whatever, this movement, this patriot movement, this truth movement, wherever, where people seem to think they know exactly what's going to happen a year from now, a couple years from now, with the government, with technology. But if God is sovereign, and he is, then all of this is under his sovereign control. It's not as though the devil is running wild with no restraint. Satan can't do any more than God allows him to do. Read Job if you want to understand that concept, that theological concept. So I think we have to be careful when we start making proclamations about how awful, about you just don't even understand what's about to happen. It's going to be so awful. Okay. We're going to go into something that's going to be more technocratic. I don't want that. I don't like that, but God is sovereign. God is in control. This is his universe. This is his world. This is his earth. We're his people. And if it goes that direction, then it's going to be for a purpose. It's going to be for a reason. And it's our duty to glorify God in all of it. It's not our duty to block our brothers and sisters out in the public because they just offer a reasonable response to a claim that we make. It's a big problem out here in the whatever this movement's called. I don't care what it's called anymore. It's just we're not in any movements. We're just here trying to tell you the truth as we see it through the lens of Scripture, because that is the ultimate and eternal truth. Well, I think that's about all. Let me just look at the chat for a second because it looks pretty active over here. I appreciate you guys joining us and being with us today. Before we get off of here, I'll do a little pop out. Do all chat. Now let me pop this thing out. That way I can see it over here so I'm not looking behind myself. Right there we go. Okay. Let's see, I could even do this. Yeah, bear with me for one moment here. Don't forget about Trump dancing with the village people today. That was something else. Oh boy. I thought I could pull it up there where you guys could see it, but how can I do this? Just like to share it with you guys. Well, let's just do it like this. Well, my goodness, that's not going to work. I'll just read it. I'll just have to read it. All right. I'll start from the bottom up. Psalm Courier. Thanks for being with us. Good to see you there. I tell people, hey, it never hurts to store food. You guys are talking about prepping. All right, that's good. I guess I should go back up to the top. Here we go. Michelle, Cherie, KJV, Pixie Doodle, thanks for being here today. 7S Heavenly. It's a huge spectacle. Ah, that's a good term, spectacle. Something we've been talking about a lot here. Don't be taken in by the spectacle. Don't be taken in by it. You can look at it. You can participate in it. But don't be taken in by it. You know, that's a term that we're trying to bring out in a lot of what we're doing today, because there is a spectacle that Christians are to be focused on and to always be holding foremost in our minds, and that is the crucifixion, the death, the burial, and resurrection of our Lord and Savior. That is a historic spectacle. That is something that happened in history. That is a spectacle that deserves our attention. Our minds need to come back to that every day. We need to come back and as the scripture says, wash at the cross every day. So good. You can check out some of the videos, some of the shows we've done, past couple of shows. We get into that, especially the strategic deception video. YouTube is just squashing these videos. It's hardly viewed at all. It's some of the best work that we've done together, perhaps. YMCA, the anthem for the gay community. Yeah, it is. Yes. Yeah, it's a good point. It is. Takarika Styles is with us. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Helio is there. Good to see you. There's Summer. Summer's in the chat. Thank you for being out there and keeping things straight and offering some insights. I've seen some of the posts. Joseph Kospalich is in the house. Thanks for being there, brother. Good to see you as well again. Carolina Terry. Let's just read what Summer wrote here. It says that his move to change names of water bodies and expand land regions will be a trigger for Marxist-trained lefties who label him as an imperialist and an expansionist. Right, an expansionist. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. There's no need to go renaming the Gulf of Mexico. I don't understand what the justification is or what. It seems very imperialistic. It doesn't seem like an important thing to do. But it does, as Summer says there in the chat, it does serve that narrative very well. Taking Greenland and Panama Canal, and possibly Canada and Mexico it just looks like the realization of the North American Union. Summer says, creating a union of countries is a globalist plan over many decades now. So this is, again, what we've written on Substack about quite a bit and covered here for a good while. You're not going to have a true globalization. There won't be a real new world order until after regionalization has occurred. And regionalization means, well, there's already a European Union. They've established an African Union. And now the North American Union, these are the regions. The BRICS would be another region. So regionalization is the way it works. Let's see. I think maybe before we run out of here. I have no idea what's going on with I can't bring my web browser up, but it doesn't matter. There, we've got articles in our Substack about regionalization. But none of it works. Not regionalization, not any of none of this will come to fruition if you and I, if all of us become so involved in our communities, in our local governments. You don't have to be in your local government. You just need to know what they're up to. You need to hold them accountable. You need to make sure that they're not doing the bidding of FEMA or the Department of Homeland Security. You end up like the people in LA or in the North Carolina mountains who had nothing because they put all of their hopes on a federal agency that was never going to help them in the first place. So that's our duty. I won't get into it too much tonight because I do preach and rail on that one an awful lot. But we just want to thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you. I just pray for our nation. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's what we should be doing. Pray for this nation. Pray that God would change Donald Trump's heart, but that if he doesn't change Trump's heart, if he doesn't actually bring him into the faith, I don't expect that. I don't even think that's not even necessary, right? You realize that God allowed Nebuchadnezzar to write a chapter of the Bible. Nebuchadnezzar was repentant. I don't know. It depends on who you ask as to whether or not Nebuchadnezzar was actually became saved, as we call it. But God will use unsaved men to lead his people. Cyrus, King Cyrus the Great, from king of the Medo-Persians, for example. God said, years before King Cyrus was ever born, God announced, said that he will be my instrument, my anointed, he called him. But there's no reason to believe that Cyrus was one of God's people. In fact, he almost certainly wasn't. So God will use ungodly men to do his work. Let's just pray and be faithful in expecting that. And let's don't block each other and shut each other down. And let's don't rail and be angry at one another because maybe this one doesn't believe that it's going to become a technocracy next week, and this one's happy today, and this one who believes it's going to be a technocracy next week is mad at this one over here because this one over here is celebrating and feels positive about the change that we've just experienced. God is sovereign, and neither of you are going to ultimately be right. The only prophecy that you can give that is going to be undoubtedly true is Jesus is going to return. We're all broken sinners, rebels against God in our natural state. And our duty here is to go, therefore, make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, and to command them all that Jesus has taught us in the Scriptures. That's our duty. In a society obsessed with global impact and political change, it might seem like the life of one believer doesn't make much of a dent, but our success is not measured in this life. It's not our success to begin with. It's God's success as He works through us to reach His people according to His sovereign timing. We've not been called to lead sweeping political changes and massive moral reforms. We haven't been called to turn the world into a theocracy. That's simply not how the Lord intends us to make a difference in this sinful world. The church's influence is not broadly political in the first place. The church's influence is personal at the level of the heart. The church will rely, here's a quote. I think this is from MacArthur. The church will really change society for the better only when individual believers make their chief concern their own spiritual maturity, which means living in a way that honors God's commands and glorifies His name. Such a concern inherently includes a firm grasp on Scripture and understanding that its primary mandate to us is to know Christ and proclaim His gospel. A godly attitude coupled with godly living makes the saving message of the gospel credible to the unsaved world. If we claim to be saved but still convey proud, unloving attitudes toward the lost or each other, then our preaching and teaching, no matter how doctrinally orthodox or politically savvy and persuasive, will be ignored or rejected. Those words echo Paul's instructions for godly living in his letter to Titus. Look at Titus chapter 3, verses 1 through 8 specifically. We have to remember our place in the world. We're not called to be rebellious revolutionaries. We should be humble, meek, and submissive to the authority God has placed over us, and that we need to reflect the character of Christ to the watching world. That's what it says in Titus. Quote, remind them to be subject to rulers, to authorities, to be obedient, to be ready for every good deed, to malign no one, to be peaceable, gentle, showing every consideration for all men. That's Titus chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. Remember your Christian duties. Remember your unsaved condition, so you'll be grateful. And remember your salvation. And remember your mission. And if you want to know this in greater detail, read Titus chapter 3. Let's just remind you, before we get out of here, please download this Armor of Truth mobile app. This is how you're going to be able to know where we are, what we're doing, when we go live places where we don't normally go live, because that's definitely going to happen as we move on here.
I'm not against technology, Doctor. I'm against the men who deify it at the expense.
Go over to our Substack. Summer does a lot of work there on Substack daily. She's over there. Subscribe to that, but you can get to our Substack through the Armor of Truth mobile app. You can get live notifications when we go live, when we put out articles, new videos, and it's a great help to us if you'll download that app. That's where we're trying to make most of our influences, on Substack and on the app. And if you would, here on YouTube, please hit the like button on this video. YouTube hates us. I mean, we're not that controversial. We're just Christians here. And it's hard for us to get any traction. But we can if you'll help us. If you'll hit the thumbs up, if you'll leave comments, even if you disagree with it, just leave a comment, interact with the video, share it somewhere with someone, with many people as you can. And please, if you can support us, it's very important that in 2025 that we reestablish ourselves, because we were just cut down over the last 6 months on YouTube and on our other platforms with censorship and just mitigating our reach. But if we work together, if you'll work with us and just hit the like button, interact, download the Armor Tooth mobile app, go to our Substack, that'll help us out greatly. And if you can support us financially, there are links in the description under this video. And you can use the Give tab on the Armor of Truth mobile app. You can also support Armor of Truth over at our Substack platform. All right, my friends, God bless you. We'll see you again real soon.
The hammer comes down and beats you over the head for the rest of your life with a big national security stick. And so that people learn to duck their head and not speak up. Because bad idea now.
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. Citizens are advised to take the following steps.
Find us, armoroftruth.net.
In the age of technocracy, scientism, and pop atheism,
faith is resistance.
Nietzsche, of course, announced the death of God and called for the birth of the Übermensch, the Superman, who would take humanity to new heights and to create a new world order.
Find us at the Armor of Truth YouTube channel.
This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test.